Tonight's topic is largely heart disease. Now, I'm excited because, we've been off of our traditional topic for the last few months with everything that's going on in the world, but I'm glad to get back to kind of some of the fundamentals here. So we're going to be talking about heart disease, and so we're going to be diving into kind of 4 major aspects of triggering for heart disease that you need to be aware of. So we're getting more back to the message of no grain, no pain. Again, those of you who are new tonight and don't know what no grain, no pain is, one of the best things you can do is grab a copy of No Grain, No Pain and read it. The information in that book might just save your life. And that's not hyperbole by any stretch. So let's talk about some triggers. Number one of the big triggers for cardiovascular disease is nutritional deficiency. And this is one that, unfortunately, if we look at kind of doctors who practice general medicine or even cardiovascular medicine, it's almost never assessed. How many of you, raise your hands, how many of you have ever gone to your doctor and they said, hey, you know what, you've got some problems, and we think it might be high blood pressure. Let's look at your nutrition, because we know that poor nutrition or nutritional deficiency can contribute to high blood pressure or heart disease. If that's happened to you and you raise your hand, I'll be surprised if a single one of you raise your hand unless you've come to see me in my office at some point in your history. But nutritional deficiency is very rarely looked at, and one of the reasons why is the average doctor has less than 7 years of training, or I shouldn't say 7 years, I mean 7 hours of training in nutrition. So if you look at medical school curriculum for nutrition, the course is generally either non-existent or it's very minimal. So this is in the entire, most doctors go to school for about 8 years between their graduate level school and their undergraduate school. It's 8 years, and then you couple in residencies and internships, and it's even on the order of magnitude of longer than 8 years. So in an 8-year education, we're talking about 7 hours of training or less for nutrition. And we can argue that the primary cause of heart disease is not necessarily nutritional deficiency, but it's nutritionally related. Okay, so doctors who are supposed to be experts in health get less than 7 hours of total training in a disease that's predominantly nutritionally related, which is kind of scary when you think about it, because how many of you gone to your doctors and you think in the back of your mind, oh, my doctor's a doctor, they're really smart, they're going to be trained in nutrition, and you don't even think that they're not trained in nutrition. In essence, you go in there with the expectation that that's something that they have actually trained in, only now you're finding out that that's just not true. It's not something they've trained in at all. As a matter of fact, I'm one of the very few in the world, there are about 350 of us that are actually board certified in clinical nutrition, which again, the diplomate with the American Clinical Board of Nutrition, so many doctors are diplomates in internal medicine or diplomates with cardiology, etc., but there are very few of us actually trained in clinical nutrition. And so, that being the case, this is a very important element. And let's talk about how nutritional deficiency can actually become a trigger. There are several nutrient deficiencies that when certain nutrients are low, for example, vitamin B1, also known as thiamine, when you develop a vitamin B1 deficiency and it's bad enough, you can actually develop congestive heart failure. So you can actually develop a form of heart muscle weakening that leads to swelling of your lower extremities. So if your ankles are swollen and filling up with fluid, right, this is oftentimes can be a sign of congestive heart failure, which is one of the symptoms of vitamin B1 deficiency. There are other nutrient deficiencies like vitamin B12 and 6 and folate. And these nutrient deficiencies can lead to an increase in a chemical called homocysteine. Now, you probably have heard of homocysteine before, because oftentimes when you go to the doctor or cardiologist, they'll measure it. They'll measure your homocysteine levels. Why? Because it's an independent risk factor for a heart attack or stroke. But there's only one thing in the world that lowers homocysteine. Okay, there's no drug that is manufactured that can actually lower homocysteine when it's elevated. The only thing in the world that lowers it is B vitamins, particularly vitamin B12, vitamin B6, and folate. And so if you've ever been to your doctor and had your homocysteine levels checked and they were elevated above 9, then this is an indicator that your B vitamin levels are deficient. Remember, homocysteine does damage to your heart, it does damage to your blood vessels, and so this is how it can contribute to inflammation that can cause different forms of heart disease. So again, this is just so far just B vitamins, but then one of the other common are minerals, and specifically calcium, magnesium, potassium. Deficiency of these three nutrients leads to increased blood pressure. So this leads to an elevation in blood pressure. This leads to an elevation in inflammation. Why does calcium, magnesium, potassium increase your blood pressure? Because these are electrolytes and they regulate how well your blood vessels can contract and relax. Calcium, remember, calcium messages your muscles to relax or to contract. Magnesium is a natural muscle relaxer, and potassium is an electrolyte that allows a neurological input to the muscles of your blood vessels so that they know when to relax and when to contract. And so deficiencies of these three critical electrolyte minerals leads to an increase in blood pressure. Now, how many of you ever been to the doctor and they measured accurately your potassium, your magnesium, and your calcium and said, hey, we need to supplement you because most likely your blood pressure is elevated as a result of a deficit of those minerals? It's very rare that it happens, again, because doctors don't get proper nutritional training. They really don't have the background or the understanding to even go down this rabbit hole with you and have this conversation with you. So these are kind of classic examples of how nutrient deficiencies can play a role in the development of heart disease-based issues. Now, here's the irony in that. So you go to the doctor, again, they're not checking you for nutritional deficiencies, but generally, if you have high blood pressure, what does your doctor want to do? He wants to medicate. If you have increased homocysteine level, they don't really tell you anything. They just tell you it increases your risk. And if you have congestive heart failure, what do they want to do? They want to give you blood pressure medicine, BP meds, predominantly something called a diuretic. So this is a water pill, right? Something that causes, remember, congestive heart failure causes your ankles to swell, so then they give you a water pill so they get the fluid out of your ankles. But it doesn't solve the fundamental crux of the issue. Regulating blood pressure or regulating water balance doesn't solve why the problem exists if the problem is caused by a nutritional deficiency. And even worse than that, diuretics can deplete B vitamins. And they can also deplete a nutrient called CoQ10. And they can also deplete calcium, magnesium, and potassium. So by taking diuretics, you're actually causing nutritional deficiencies that can lead to elevations in homocysteine and lead to elevations in blood pressure and lead to elevations in a risk for the development of congestive heart failure. So again, I hope you get my point here is that if nutritional deficiency is contributing to your heart issues or to your cardiovascular issues and medicine has been the solution, but the medicine creates a nutritional deficiency that recreates the problem, then are you winning? You're really not winning at all. You're actually chasing your tail. So this kind of circular pattern of drugs causing nutritional deficit increasing your risk for heart disease, and the whole reason you went to see your doctor in the first place was because you were developing heart problems or heart issues, whether it be high blood pressure or congestive heart failure or whatnot. Again, you can see what the irony is, because most doctors will tell you that you're developing your heart disease because of bad genes or because you're getting older. Like, those are the two standard answers that people get told in a primary doctor's office. You have bad genes, your family had heart disease, oh, you're just going to have to get over it, you've got bad genes. Or you're getting older, and it's just part of aging is developing heart disease. And neither one of those things is actually true. Part of aging is not developing heart disease. You have to go back in time to know that. Before 1910, we had very little heart disease that was impacting Americans the way it is today. And one of the big reasons that we have so much today has to do with nutrition. In one aspect, it has to do with nutritional deficiency, because so many of the drugs being used cause nutritional deficiency. But in another aspect, it has to do with the quality of the diet. So many people are eating poor quality diet, they develop nutritional deficiency, so it contributes to their heart disease precursors or heart disease risk factors, and so again, it leads to a major problem. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below, and as always, thanks for tuning in.